Hey, this is Mark, and I'm gonna I'm gonna calibrate my new Prusa printer. Um, the last few chapters, I did all the assembly last night. I did the electronics assembly, and so now I have a completed printer. It's never been powered on. I have no idea if it's gonna make smoke. I'm always paranoid about that, but we're gonna find out. This might be a short podcast if I did something completely wrong and it makes smoke or something, but any other problem, maybe we'll work through it. So um, let's get started on the pre-flight check and the calibration of my Prusa printer, and then hopefully we end this thing with one of the test prints that's on there. So let's get to it. Oh, the other thing, I forgot to set up chat. Let me get the chat window up on this. Sorry about that. These tools are never automatic on all of this stuff. So let me pop this out. Then oops. All right. All right. Oh my. Sorry. There it is. All right. Chat. There's my chat window. Okay. So I don't see anybody here yet, but that's if you pop in, say hi. All right. Let's calibrate this thing. I'm going to work from the Chapter 9 manual, which is the pre-flight check, and then I'm going to switch over to their printing guide, which has more, once you've turned it on or think you've calibrated it exactly to get to a test print. So I'm going to start with the Chapter 9 guide here. So let's see. It says ensure that your printer's turned off and not plugged in, okay, which I think that's true. It says move the extruder manually all the way to the left. So I'm going to push this over all the way to the left, all the way. All the way. No, it keeps going. Okay, it's there. By rotating both threaded rods at the same time on the Z-axis, move the nozzle until you reach the heat bed. Try rotating both rods equally. So I'm going to basically lower this carriage down onto the heat bed, and that'll be, I guess, it's 0 point or whatever. So, and it says to rotate these evenly. Not too much effort. And that's there. Right. I think I'm close. I don't know. Too big. All right, it's all the way down, just like in the step. It says check again from a different angle. The nozzle is touching slightly on the heat bed. Don't bend the heat bed. So, oh my, it's almost. Actually, the bed sensor is actually touching. It's a little bit lower above, so I'm going to leave that because I think there's a calibration for that in about a step or two. So we'll just do that. It says check again if a different angle the nozzle is down. Don't bend the heat bed. Adjust the probe directly on the heat bed without the steel sheet. So it says move the extruder carefully all the way to the right. Make sure it's not scratching the surface. So I guess they're trying to calibrate. You know what? I think I gotta raise up the sensor because that's what we're, I guess, calibrating to. So I'm gonna get the sensor raised here. I'm gonna loosen the screw in the sensor. It wasn't even tight, really. I'm gonna lift this. If I can get the sensor. Raise this back up. There we go. Okay, so I got the sensor pushed up like a millimeter or two. It's definitely higher than the nozzle now. So now we can do the thing that they're asking for, which is get the nozzle down all the way, touching the bed. Right, so it's on the bed. It says to slide this over and make sure we're not scratching the bed. And I can see it's going to be high on this side already. So I'm all the way over. It says if an adjustment is needed, you can lower the nozzle height by rotating the Z motor counterclockwise. So my nozzle is a little bit high on this side, so it says we're just going to turn the single thread, and now the nozzle is touching here, and should be touching here, and that should now it's level. So let's do that. All right, it's on the bed. So there. It says, okay, now move it to the center of the axis. Yeah, it's like scratching just a little bit, which I don't want to do. But it's there anyways. Okay, so now we're in the center. It says, take a zip tie from the package and place it under the pinda sensor. Use the middle part of the zip tie, not the tip. So I have a zip tie, and I'm going to slide it under. It says don't use the tip because that's a thinner piece of plastic. So we're going to slide this under our pinda sensor, which is over on the side here. And it says release the screw holding the pinda and gently press it against the zip tie. So we're going to lower the pinda sensor. I'm going to loosen this a little bit more. Excuse me. Dry flip tape. Alright. I'm going to widen the gap on the pinda thing so I can move it, make sure it's really... Yep, okay. So I have the pinda sensor sitting on this zip tie, and that says now tighten it. But you've got it where it wants to be. Right, it's good and snug. It ain't going nowhere. It says don't use glue to fix your pinda probe, because then you won't be able to calibrate it later. So 3D print the new piece if you had to, right? All right. So we have the pinda probe. It's just like the width of a zip tie higher than our actual probe. The probe's touching the surface. It says check out the new user guide, which is what we're going to switch to in a minute. We're going to switch over to the 3D printing handbook because now it has the power on sequence and the calibration and all that. But according to the assembly manual, we've done all of the things that make this kind of like how it leaves the assembly line at their factory and then goes on to their calibration and QA test department. So let's get that all started. But we have a printer that's together now. Let me switch over to this other guide. Okay, so essentially we're working from the user's manual now. So we're past the assembly manual, and now we're on what you'd usually use in normal day-to-day use of the manual for your printer. So let's get to it. So this is a 70-page manual, and obviously we're not going to go through everything, but it tells us where to skip ahead to based on what we have. They have steps for if you bought a pre-assembled printer, there's steps for that because they calibrated it at the factory, they set the pinda probe, they did all that stuff. So for those people, it's like turn it on, one or two things, and then start printing. For us, we're going to calibrate a couple more things here and run some the self-test of it. So let's see here. One of the things they tell you at the beginning of the chapter is the way to handle your printer. If you're going to carry it or move it off the table, is this bar up here next to the Prusa logo is the handle. So it said don't lift it from any other location. So treat it like a little briefcase and lift it from this part, this metal frame. But yeah, don't grab it on the side or hang it sideways or whatever. You risk twisting and torquing the frame on there, and then your prints. You could ruin the calibration of your prints by doing that. So, good thing to point out. Let's see. In the kit, one of the things I was mysterious about is what is this, right? What is this thing? And so in chapter 6 of the manual, the user manual, it says that your box also came with a USB cable, an acupuncture needle, which is not for doing your own acupuncture. It's for cleaning the nozzle out. It happens to be the right tip width, and it's a nice sharp pointed tip. So if you need to have a few extras of those, now you know what to look for on like Amazon.com. Is go look for acupuncture needles, or ask your acupuncturist for a couple of needles. Or when they're not looking, pull a couple out and put them in your pocket. Glue stick. This is a glue stick, and it is specifically for nylon. If I'm going to print nylon, that's what that's for. If I'm going to print PLA and other stuff, it's not necessarily for that. But this is a nice, according to them, a way to get nylon to stick to your print bed. And this is water-soluble glue, so once it's done, you should be able to wash the print bed off and get all that gunk off of there. So, good to know. It says all the components of every printer are tested. So they claim that everything left the factory in a tested state. So let's see. Printer says so. Okay, so there's a flow chart for an assembled printer, and it's essentially it says remove it from the container and there's a test print in there and take it out and unload the filament, load new filament. Blah blah blah. So we are a kit. So the next step is in the kit, and I'll show you this flow chart real quick, so you can kind of see that. So this is the procedure. So I just built a kit. It says that we're essentially going to turn it on and run a self-test, and it'll tell us if there's an error or not. It will then calibrate the XYZ axes. We'll then load filament. We'll do a calibration print, which is a single layer calibration print, and make sure that we've leveled the bed properly and that the filament's sticking to the bed. And then after that, we'll print a Prusa logo, hopefully, and we will have a working printer, and we can go on and do all the other things. So none of this involves me inputting drivers on my computer yet. So this is just the printer by itself off the SD card can print things. So let's move to that. Let's see. It says there's also a chapter called Flexible Steel Sheet Surface Preparation. It wants me to clean this, which I probably will just go run and get a. It says usually a wet rag with a little bit of dish soap, not like a drop, or less than that even, just to get any, skin oil and stuff off of that. But it also says you can clean it with isopropyl and denatured alcohol, which happens to be vodka, the same as vodka, which is natured alcohol. The difference is that denatured alcohol, they add something in there so that it will make you sick if you drink it, but it's still vodka. But they don't want you drinking this stuff in the hardware from the hardware store. So almost any kind of alcohol will clean the surface of that. Let's see here. Okay, so it says let's follow the flow. Self-test. So let's get on to this. Are we in that chapter? Chapter 634. Okay. Okay, so it says purpose of the self-test routine is to check the most common errors. So I guess it does some things to make sure that we didn't bugger something up. You can run it from the LCD panel. So let's do this. What is it saying? So it's telling me what the thing is. I'm guessing I can turn this on now. Okay, so let's plug this in and turn it on and get to the self-test menu and see if this thing doesn't wreck itself, right? I'm gonna drink a swig of beer because I don't know. I might hit stop recording here in a second because I don't want you to see the fire and erupting flames. So, oh God, wish me luck. Smoke check. Oh, the screen came on. It says original Prusa i3, English or Sestina, which is, I guess, Czechoslovakian. So English, yes. I'm going to press the button. Okay, printer has not been calibrated. Please follow the manual chapter. First step section, calibration flow. Okay. So it says I'm not, okay, so what am I doing here? Let's see, calibration flow. So maybe they're telling me this? I don't know. I'm not seeing anything that says do this and do that yet. Okay, calibration test. Okay, this is telling me that it will guide me through the process, which it's not. It's not doing that at all. So let's figure out where the instructions are not really clear here because it ain't doing it. It says you can cancel the wizard. Well, it's not even doing that, so. So there's apparently a step that I missed. I don't know. It says that it wants me to update to the latest firmware, but I am not doing that right now. I'm just not going to do that. I'm going to assume that whatever they put on it 2 weeks ago is probably fine. So, all right, so set up before the printing. I did all these things. I put it on a flat surface and attached the filament holder and whatever. Let's see. It says the wizard start. It says it will guide me, and it is not. So it says printer has not been calibrated. First step section. Okay, where's the first step section? There's nobody on chat to help me with this. LCD menu calibrate. Do not forget. This thing's not fucking telling me anything. Quite literally. These instructions suck. Alright. Hitting the button. Yeah, it just comes up with a menu that says the printer has not been calibrated. So, yeah, it hasn't been because I just bought it. Motherfuckers. You know what? I'm betting. But they didn't tell me to put the SD card in. Because they told me to leave it out on the previous step. So let's put this in and see if maybe there's some code on here that runs and then does exactly what it's supposed to do. Thanks, Prusa. I guess they assume people just stick it in. I don't. It didn't tell me to do it, so I didn't do it. Okay, I have an SD card in there. Let's see what happens now. There it goes. It needs an SD card in there. They said they'd tell you to put that in, and they didn't. The instructions don't tell you to put it in. They assume that you've put it in, so whatever. Let's see. No, it did the same thing. Oh, there it goes. All right, so now I got past that menu. I have on this menu, maybe you can, if I adjust the lighting a little bit, you'll get, there we go. You can see some things on this menu. There. So the menu has things like the temperature of the element, the printing element, and the bed. The SD card percentage of, I guess, how full it is or something like that. It's got the Z-axis, thinks it's at 0, which hopefully that means 0, we're at the bottom. And then something about 100%. So I'm guessing maybe that it thinks the print job's done or something. So those are all the things, and there's a little clock icon, I think, with time, which we haven't set. So, okay, we're on that. So we have this part, so self-test. Let's see if we can run the self-test here. So 634 is the self-test, so let's get to that self-test. So I'm guessing since it didn't, whatever I didn't make it do its automatic stuff, I'm going to select self-test from a menu perhaps. Let's see if it'll let me do that. It resets when I hit X. Okay. That's nice. All right. There we go. I pressed the knob, and I got a menu. So let's see if there's in this menu settings calibration. I'm gonna guess that let's see what it says. It's I'm gonna tell me. Run self-test from the calibration menu. So there's the calibration menu. Okay, main wizard, first layer, auto home. I think we're going to do the wizard, right? Okay. I wonder if I should just run the... I'm going to do the wizard, since that was the thing that was supposed to do it, I guess. Yeah, we'll try this. Hey, hi, I'm your Prusa. Would you like me to guide you through the setup process? Yes, I would. I would love that. Thank you very much. May I drink a beer while you guide me through the setup process? Good. We're in agreement. All right. It says, first, I will run the self-test to check most common assembly problems. Okay, that sounds good to me, little AI guy. It says self-test start. It says fan test. Extruder fan, print fan. It thinks those are okay. Yep, they're running. I can hear them running. The print fan. Is the print fan running? I hear it. Fan test. Left hot end fan spinning. Fan left hot end fan. It's not spinning. Well, that's not good. The front print fan, is it spinning? Yes, it's spinning. La la la. Okay, checking the hot end. Bed X, okay, XYZ bed hot end. Okay, it is checking the hot end. I'm guessing it's heating it up or something like that. Just rip here. Oh, the printer's moving. What's it doing? It's going back and forth. It's gonna do some shit. Yeah, look at that. Okay, self-test error. Well, that's not good. Please check the axis length. Did it hit something, maybe? Maybe we're ramming into something. It does not like the axis length for some reason. Axis X. So our x-axis is not happy about the length of something. So I gotta figure that out. Let's see what we got here. I see that this thing kind of bends a little bit when it hits the axis end, so listen. What am I dealing with here? I see. This fan wire I ran around the side, but it looks like for the print head to detect that it hit the frame, it needs a solid thing. It can't have this squishy wire to hit against. So I need to reroute the wire around the fan so that it doesn't hit the frame. So, and I think once I fix that, this thing will probably pass. So I'm going to slide this out of the way. So it looks like my trying to be clever wasn't. So I'm going to have to, I may have to power this off and do it again. I think there's enough slack in the wire, I can get it out of the way. I just have two wires to do here. And then I want to take my finger off on this fan. I'm going to turn this off, and then we'll do this whole calibration again. I'm going to unplug it for safety reasons. So, yeah, the thing I'm dealing with here is, yeah, this wire? I thought it would be better to run it across the fan. It really wasn't blocking it too much, but I didn't like the way they routed it. I don't like a lot of stuff about how they routed wires on the extruder, but it looks like I don't have a choice in this case because when the print bed comes all the way over, that area is what hits against the side plastic holder thing, and then I think that's how the I'm guessing that the servo or the stepper controller can detect when it's hit something, and that's your stop switches. You know, older printers have switches in them to know if you hit the end stop. This thing's actually smart enough to know if the motor is actually collided with something, and by having a soft wire in between there, it's like confusing it. And I need to fix that. So let's make this better. Yeah, I don't like how the belt is really close to my wiring in this type of situation. I I don't really like this at all, actually. Maybe something I'll crack at in Fusion 360 and make a new version of this part. Yeah, the thing I don't like is when I route the wire around this, now it like is really close to rubbing the belt, which I think is crap. So I don't know why they do it this way. I would not have done this. And I actually tucked the fan wires into this little bracket, so I gotta kind of dig those out of there. I don't like this at all. Because now the stepper wire is like gonna be looks like it's gonna rub against the belt. It isn't like it's not good for long term. What is it using? Yep, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. It's not touching, but yeah, there's nothing holding this together. Is the wire supposed to go under the fan, maybe? I'm guessing. Oh, I remember. It's all coming back to me. This wire, tilt this back. This fan wire, I remember, and now it just came back to me. In the step, it routes underneath this plastic piece as a guard, and I guess I had taken the fan off at some point to adjust something and then didn't put it back. So now I know I have to fix this. So I screwed up, but I have a fix for this. But okay, so the self-test actually was smart enough to tell me that something here was wrong and tell me to go take a look at it. And so I kind of like that. I kind of like that the hardware has enough, without adding all kinds of weird sensors, that it knew enough to say, hey, this doesn't feel right. Go look at that and fix it if necessary. And then there you go. It's like, you know, these machines have enough. There's enough information on these machines that they don't even need more sensors. They just know from how much current they use or voltages or whatever that something's not normal in how they're working, and that it should be looked at. So, okay, yeah, there's a little groove underneath here to tuck this wire in. And I think when I took the fan off, because I put the extruder in 90 degrees rotated when I was assembling it, I remember now that I didn't put this back correctly. And that is. So, but yeah, kind of an oversight. This is a really tight fan. Like I was saying, I think I was saying last night, is I don't like that they routed these fan wires in between the belt and the carriage, because you can't take the extruder off of the carriage anymore and like service it on the heat bed or something, like I can do with my replicator. You literally have to unpull the wire all the way from the electronics all the way back out if you ever want to service this thing. So I think that from a maintenance standpoint, a long-term maintenance standpoint, that kind of sucks. Yeah, this really not. What am I doing wrong here? Okay, it wants to go down and make it down. Yeah, now that this is on, it's harder to get to. And this thing wants to go over it and not under it. So let's see if I can. Yeah, there we go. That is routed the way it needs to. This back over. There we go. Alright, it looks like it's all fitting in there. Screw back in. Let's hope that's the only thing I did wrong. Yeah, it didn't smoke. It didn't smoke. It didn't smoke. Look at me. I made a thing that didn't catch on fire when I plugged it in for the first time. Winning. I've had very few things in my career that actually explode upon power up. I can't say that about some of my coworkers, but I personally have. I'm usually paranoid enough that I'll find a thing like that before I burn the building down. Yeah, not having that wire hanging out looks a lot nicer. So at least I'll remember in the future that that wire doesn't go outside. One more screw up. Do it again. That is what it is. All right. Let's see if we can make this do the right thing now. I'll reward myself with a beer. And let's continue. It says, "Hi, I'm your Prusa. Would you like me to guide you?" Yes, let's do that again. It says, "I'm gonna self-test some stuff." Extrude the fan. Okay. Quick fan. Fan test. Left, hot, and fan. Spinning, not spinning. Not spinning. Front print fan. Spinning, not spinning. That is definitely spinning. Alright, it thinks the fans are okay. Checking the hotbed. Hey, Maker Block. You missed me showing that I routed one of the X-axis stepper motor wire incorrectly, and when I redid the hot end problem I had, I didn't put that wire underneath the fan, and so it was hanging out above the fan, and that caused the this printer test right here. It didn't hit the end stop correctly, and it thinks that I had a problem. So I had to go figure out why did I screw that up. It looks like it's maybe running now. Let's see. I think it's happy. Oh, yeah, it's getting further away than it was. So I've got my self-test running right now. Look at that. It's moving. It's very quiet printer too, much quieter than the replicator. So I'm really happy about that. Because we keep our printers in a room next to where we sleep, and at night the printer makes enough noise that you wake up sometimes going, is there somebody in the house? No, it's the printer. So there. It looks like it got to, what's it doing? It's checking the bed now. Running my self-test. XYZ okay, hot end okay, bed testing. The little LED for the bed. I don't think you can see that. Raise up here. There, you see that LED in the back? Well, it just went off. It's right there. You can see it. Oh, there it is. You see that red light? That's the bed has a light on it to tell you that the bed's actually running, which is kind of nice. Still testing the bed. Is it hot? Ooh, the bed's hot. It's got heat. So the bed's heating up. Sounds like that's doing its thing. Okay, it says all correct. I will run XYZ calibration now. It will take approximately 12 minutes. So let's just watch this thing do stuff and see what it does. So do I need to press the OK button, or is it going to do it by itself? It's got a little check mark, so I don't know if I have to check that. Do I check it? Yeah? Yeah, you got to press the button. All right, so it. Yeah, I saw the nozzle kind of collide with the bed there, so I'm like, yeah. That's not good. All right. Is steel sheet on the heat bed? No, it is not. Please clean the nozzle for calibration. Click when done. Clean the nozzle. Let's see what the manual says about this. It's a new nozzle. I don't think it might have to be cleaned, so. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, self-test. Oh, God. Oops. All right, it basically says it says clean the nozzle, but it says to check that there isn't any plastic hanging out of the nozzle tip, because that'll affect the calibration if you're if there's a little bit of plastic hanging out of the nozzle, it touches the bed, and it says, "Oh yeah, the nozzle's, you know, that's the end of the nozzle." It's not. You just added the thickness of the plastic into the calibration, which was screwed up. So this is a new print head, so I'm pretty sure I don't need to clean it, but I'm gonna take a look. Yeah, my nozzle is perfectly clean. I'm gonna not clean the print nozzle in this step. In the future, after I've used the printer, of course, I'm going to clean the nozzle. I'm going to make sure that there's no little booger of plastic hanging off of there. So I'm going to go ahead and just do that. All right, it says place a sheet of paper under the nozzle during the calibration of the first 4 points. If the nozzle catches the paper, power off. Okay. So it says I'm going to put a piece of paper in here as it goes, and then if the nozzle starts to drag the paper or something, just turn off the whole printer and then do it all again. So let me go find a piece of paper. No, I have it. Yeah, it's pretty good. Really good. Right. I got this nice yellow piece of paper here. We're going to put this on the bed, and we're going to continue the test. But I guess I need to pay attention and make sure that because the paper is smaller than the bed, that it actually goes to the corners where it's doing its calibration. So let's do that. Here we go. It says searching bed calibration, point 1 of 4, which is this corner. So I'm going to just leave that there. And hopefully this thing detects the surface of the thing. It's getting closer and closer as it does this. So it's just lowering it a little bit at a time, it looks like. Maybe. No, it's not. It might be using the sensor to detect where it's at, so. I think there's like a magnet or something. Oh, the bed's going back and forth. Okay, so I guess it's scanning the bed to where the calibration point is, which I'm guessing is some kind of magnet or some other thing they've embedded in the platform. So I see the bed swimming back and forth, the z-axis or the y-axis. So it's kind of fascinating to watch. You can kind of see it moving there in the video just slightly. Well, it's getting lower and lower. It is lowering it every now and then. So I think it's just trying to find out what the best optimal point is. If the paper starts dragging, then we're going to turn this off, though. So, but it's the nozzle right down on the surface at this point. There it goes. Yep, it's doing something. This is pretty advanced stuff. The old printer does not do anything remotely like this. So I'm pretty happy with the technology in this thing. That tells me that most of my prints are going to be pretty damn accurate if I've set my calibration up right. Less guesswork. The replicator one became a little bit of an art form to get the print bed level and other things like that. And if you changed anything, like if you used a heated bed or not, it would change the calibration, and you had to go back and tweak it again. So, oops, let's do it. pretty cool stuff. Yeah, MakerBlock says he has a Rep 1 as well, and his current cheap $160 Delta kicks the crap out of it, so that's pretty interesting. Although my Replicator 1, man, we print constantly on it, and it's been pretty much a workhorse once we got it set up and any of the little issues figured out. We have our Replicator 2 at work, and it is garbage. And it's the fancy black one that costs, you know, $500 more than the Rep 1, and it is a piece of junk. Like, people at work hate it. Works, we get it to work, but it like has a lot of different issues with printing that you'd think a revision 2 of something would do a better job at that, and it doesn't. Like Replicator, like I think they shaved all the money out of it, tried to get more profits, and they just ended up making a piece of garbage printer during that era. So. I can't believe how quiet this thing is. This is just really a soft. The steppers don't make a whole lot of noise at all. The MakerBlock says you can't even hear it on the video here, so yeah, it's pretty soft. It might be because of the stepper drivers, and probably also just the algorithms they use to control the steppers would be my guess. But yeah, I'm not an expert on stepper drivers, so. But I'm guessing that it's just, yeah, it's a combination of software and just better hardware, better chips. You get better stuff like this. Nope. No.
He says he wants to watch.
Noodle can watch if he wants. It's up to you. All right, something happened. MakerBlock says, "Hey Sarah and hey Noodle."
Hi. I'm here. I'm alive.
All right, so the calibration, basically, it's going to each of the calibration points and like getting finer and finer sensing. I guess on it's probably collecting data about where the print head is or where the surface is. But it seems to gets finer on each pass here, so it should be interesting to see how that makes a difference on prints.
Noodle says he's going to plot his what's happening?
So much fun. Yeah. Hi, Noodle. Noodle has been turned on. Let me get a shot of Noodle here. Just flip around. So there's Noodle Feet. He's overwatching this whole operation. He's got all his stuffed toys and his little friends and other accoutrements and cables and God knows what. So that's Noodle's little nest. That's where he lives. And he lives on the other half of the table that I use. And he wants his other half back, which happens to be my half, but I'm going to fight for that because I need this table for some other stuff soon. So
you're going to take it by force. Yeah?
Yeah.
Is it printing?
No, it's calibrating. See these little dots right here?
Yeah.
It knows where the table is, so you don't have to adjust the calibration anymore.
Yeah.
It knows. It's got sensors. So it's doing a really fine check of where the sensor is. Sure, it's taking a while though.
Noodle says it's going to hit the floor.
MakerBot says that Noodle is a hoarder robot. Noodle's hoarding little things for his nest.
He's nesting.
He's building a bigger nest. We're just going to have to get our own house and leave Noodle here.
He's going to nest.
This is Noodle's house now.
It's important that he nests. He says he let the printer hit the floor. Let the printer hit the floor.
Yeah.
Let the printer hit the floor.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that.
He says yes. It's going to happen. There's nothing we can do.
Well, they're doing something. Well, the screen went blank, so I don't know what that means. Just keep going. Up. Going to the next point and move my piece of paper over. There we go. This is exciting. So the pinda probe seems to have like a little red LED inside of it, and you can see it flashing when it turns on when it hits when it sees the sensor, and it turns off. So as it's scrubbing past the spot, you can see it flickering sometimes, and when it's right on whatever the sensor spot is, it stays on. So it's interesting that you can at least visually see if the pinda sensor is on the actual sensor spot. So kind of cool. Oh, something changing here. What do we got? It might have completed this phase. It's raising the z-axis all the way up. Okay, what's the thing say? Oh my. Well, that's interesting. The display is like, my display is scrambled. So something in that process, I don't know if you can see that or not. Get the contrast in. Maybe not. Can you see that? It's hard to read, but there's just a bunch of scrambled characters on the screen at this point, which kind of sucks. So I don't know what it's trying to tell me, but it looks like something on the LCD display got scrambled in the process of running this. It was blank for a while, and then when it came back, the LCD got scrambled. So I don't know if this is just a firmware bug or some other thing, but I don't know what I'm looking at. So I'm gonna tilt this over so you can see this. So you can. So there's some proof. Oh, let me let that focus. I guess you can see that a little bit. Yeah, this. No, I hate you, Logitech. There it goes. See how that's all scrambled? Like, so something got messed up on the calibration of this thing. So I'm not sure what. So I don't know if I should like restart this whole process or what, but this kind of sucks. Maybe I'll just I'm going to hit the thing and see if it corrects itself. If it doesn't, I'll just turn it off. All right. I don't know if this is the step that needs the sheet. So it's, yeah, my LCD has like something wrong, and I don't know what. It may just be loose. Touched. Yeah, and it's slamming into the bed, so. All right. I'm going to start this over because the my LCD display is all scrambled, and I don't know why that is. Maybe this is something I can. I'll point this video over to Prusa and see what they might say. But I'm going to go check the wiring. I'm going to turn this off, check the wiring, and see what's going on here. I have to use the restroom real quick. So I'm going to end this. I'm going to end this. I'm going to say, yeah, this calibration kind of works. I'll do another. I'll do another quick video when I have this running. I'll print an object, but you kind of get an idea of the calibration process on the Prusa. So there's a little bit of time-consuming elements to it, but like I say, I've hit this weird problem where the LCD screen just has scrambled characters on it. Could be a loose cable. It could be just it needs to be power cycled or some other thing. Hopefully that doesn't keep happening to this thing, but we'll find out. Or I'll go to the Prusa forums and see if anybody else has seen this problem and if there's a possible solution for it. So thanks for watching, and I'll probably post another update about showing a working printer. So have a great evening. Thanks.